put where you're from, where are you joining us from into the chat so we can get a full overview of the web of connection that we're experiencing right now with you all. And I'm just getting my own chat up right here, right now. And we have
Claudia from Switzerland, Arparna from Cincinnati, Larry from Monterey, California.
Cece
from Germany. Welcome, Cece. Nushrat from Geneva, covering the world.
Cindy from Connecticut, welcome. And let's see, here we go. Ronnie from Calistoga, California. Hi, Ronnie. Ronnie's with us very often. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day.
I see Sharmini from Malaysia.
And I see Jill from Yakima, Washington. Hi, Jill. Jill's a buddy of mine.
Jana from Atlanta, always here with us.
And Poppy from North Yorkshire, UK. Hi, Poppy. Okay, and there's Basil. Basil, yay, from North Carolina. Long-term friend, wonderful friend. Judy Lamar. Hi, Judy. And Robin Lee from I'm only seeing part of the address there. Welcome to you all. Welcome to you all. And today's Ancient Secret Call, we have some wonderful, wonderful guests coming in, and you being our wonderful guests to begin with. Special and wonderful are you all. Joe and Sue from Washington Coast, another couple of dear friends who we just spent time with. So welcome to the Ancient Secrets Call, and we've got special guests, Rabbis Eva and Stephen Robbins. If you've met them before, you'll know what amazing people they are. They'll be with us very shortly. And, and before we move into the bulk of our call, we want to make just a few quick announcements that the Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer book by our dear Dr. Clint Rogers has just come out recently on audiobook. And this is the book here. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the audiobook, you'll find that it's a pretty amazing experience that even brings an extra added dimension to the reading of the book. So that's available. You can get it on the Ancient Secrets now, My Ancient Secrets website. We have a lot of Ancient Secrets websites, which is wonderful in itself. And then also just to re-announce that if you haven't heard it, the audio collection called the Lotus Collection, which has a beautiful recording of Dr. Naram's called You Are Unstoppable, and with various luminaries like Ram Dass and Michael Beckwith and several just amazing cuts, which again, you can get through the My Ancient Secrets website. And a portion of that goes directly to benefit the orphans in Nepal and Tibet. So that being said, we have a special segment by our dear colleague, Linda Russo, about the deeper meaning of 4th of July. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Jerem, and I just want to welcome each and every one of you to this call today. And I just want to also say Happy Independence Day to our friends in Canada who celebrated Independence Day on the 1st of July. We're celebrating it today on the 4th of July. And I just want to ask everyone to take a moment and think about what independence really means to you. This is a time for us to really have a perspective of realizing the freedoms that we have and to utilize those freedoms. I just want you to just drop in your heart and think about that as we go throughout this day, the freedoms that we have and how blessed we are to have these freedoms, but also to put them in perspective of these ancient secrets that we're learning about in my ancient secrets of a master healer, and to ask yourself, what am I willing to do to utilize these freedoms and take advantage of them each and every day? Because this is a choice we all have. So I just want to welcome you, and I'm happy to have you with us on this call today.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. And I want to introduce now my colleague, Esther Wolkowitz, my wonderful colleague, who will lead us into the next section of today's call.
So I was looking to see if Eva and Steve are. Sorry, I got muted. I don't see Eva on. Eva joined the wrong Zoom room. So I just texted her. You know what, Linda? I'm thinking maybe it would be good if, I know it's out of order, but maybe we could do Maryam's chapter review now and wait for Rabbis Eva and Steve to be able to join us. So does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I just want to share with everyone before we even start Miriam's summary of chapter 7, and the love that she put into putting this together for us is so immense. It's a great way to really take us into our hearts, because she's in the midst of moving from Vietnam, a place that she's loved and have been such an inspiration and a heart seeker there, teaching youth and realizing the need for visuals for herself and sharing that love with each and every one of us and getting this together for us in the midst of moving back to the UK to take care of her sick mom. So I just want each and every one of us to send Miriam some love as we think and just pay attention to the presentation for chapter 7, such a beautiful summary that she gave. And there is a slight mistake on the marma points. Just adjust it, switch them around, but you get the gist of it and you have it in your books.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Linda, can I just say something? Miriam is such an important part of our community. She has this passion for this book, and she loves this book so much that she started her own little book club. She wanted to read the book to her friend. And so she started recording it, and then other people wanted to join. And so she's got this little book club. And so she has been doing the slides, reading the chapters. And so that's one of the reasons, just her passion. I just wanted to, I wanted people to see the passion, because it ignites. It just really ignites us. Anyway, it's beautiful. And we're so grateful that I think she's arrived at the UK safely, and she's spending time with her family now. So we're just so glad that she was able to do this for us. So thank you.
And I do want to share, our special guest has arrived. So everybody should know that. We can go ahead with the video, and then we let you know that Eva is here now.
Great. Thank you all. Sometimes we have little technical delay moments, and this appears to be one of them, and I'm sure it will be resolved soon. Looks good here. Yay. He did it.
Namaskar, friends and family joining from all around the world. The divinity, that spark of light in me, loves, 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 and bows down to the divinity, that spark of light within you. So let's explore chapter 7, the ancient secrets of a master healer. So this chapter is all about healing and hope. Hafiz said, the place you are right now, God circled on a map for you. And just take a moment to let those words sink right in. This moment, this divine, splendid moment is for you. It's designed just for you, for your highest good. As we explore this chapter together, I'd like you to reflect on this question. How important is it to have hope? Here are the highlights of chapter 7. There are many healing stories that give hope. We learn of Samir, a young lawyer from Boston who overcame vitiligo. Rabbi Stephen Robbins, who is also a clinical psychologist, shares his miraculous healing story. We learn of 2 Mama Shakti or energy points for great skin and for supporting healthy hormone levels in men. And we learn more about an important moment that changed Dr. Clint's life. Chapter 7 takes us to Utah and the home of Dr. Clint's parents. We discover that Dr. Clint's father was on 12 medications for a litany of things, including high cholesterol, high blood pressure, chest pain, leg pain, diabetes, sleeping problems, gastrointestinal problems, unbearable arthritis pain, low energy, increasing depression, and a fading memory from the onset of early dementia. Dr. Clint's father was in a tremendous amount of pain. So the day that Dr. Clint arrives home, they go into his father's office, and Dr. Clint's father is struggling to explain what's happening. He tells Dr. Clint that he hasn't even spoken to his mother yet, or Dr. Clint's siblings. Finally, he says, I don't even know if I'm going to live through this week. And just let that sink in. You can imagine how alone Dr. Clint's father must have felt going through all of this, because he didn't want to worry anybody. He was protecting everybody else. And you can imagine the absolute fear, intense fear you would feel as a son or a daughter to hear that a parent might be dying. Dr. Clint shares, my heart pounded. I couldn't lose my father. I wasn't ready. Not this soon, not like this. I needed to know more. Dr. Clint's father shares, I don't know how to tell you this. He struggled telling me as much as I struggled listening. There is so much pain in my entire body that it feels like someone has slammed me against the wall. At night, I lie awake in so much agony. I don't know. I know that no son should ever have to hear this from his father. But when I'm in this much pain, I honestly don't know if I even want to live to see the morning. His words sank in my heart like boulders. Dr. Clint further shares, losing my sister as a child had such an impact. I couldn't handle losing my dad too. I always assumed he would be at my future wedding and read stories to my future kids. There were so many questions I never asked him and things I never did with him because I assumed there would be time. Was it possible that now I only had a few precious days left with him? Dr. Clint's father explains, I'm visiting 4 highly qualified doctors who are trying everything they can think of. 2 of the 4 specialists told me just this month that they didn't know what else they could do for me. They said they tried everything they know of and have now run out of ideas. The other 2 don't have much hope either. Due to absolute desperation, Dr. Clint asks if he can share all the cases and healing stories that he witnessed in Dr. Naram's clinic in India. And he shares those stories. And Dr. Clint's father says, I've already tried alternative therapies. I tried homeopathy, reflexology, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and more. They all promised great results, but in my case, never delivered much relief. And Dr. Clint said, Dad, just trust me on this. Can we at least try? And his father says, at this point, he said, forcing a smile, the good news is, at least I have nothing to lose. So they head to California, Los Angeles. And at this part of the chapter, we hear many incredible healing stories, which give so much hope. So when they arrive at Dr. Naram's Pulse Healing Clinic, there is a 3 to 6 hour waiting period. And so they wait. And in the meantime, Dr. Clint is listening to so many incredible stories and sharing them with his dad. Eventually, it's time for Dr. Clint's dad to have his appointment with Dr. Naram. Dr. Clint shares, my dad tenderly walked with me from the hotel room down the hall to the conference area and to Dr. Naram's door. As we waited outside, he admitted he didn't know how to begin to explain to Dr. Naram everything he was experiencing. Dr. Clint shares, I watched my dad walk slowly into the room, slightly hunched over and visibly in pain. Dr. Naram welcomed him with a big smile while I waited anxiously outside. Oh gosh, you can imagine just waiting and hoping and praying. And the time, it would feel like it's taking forever. But eventually, 6 minutes later, he walks out. And this is what Dr. Clint shares. Though it seemed like forever, only about 6 minutes later, the door opened. And I was surprised by what I saw. My dad looked and walked differently. He held his head higher and stood more upright with a look of wonder in his eyes. I didn't need to say anything to him, Dr. Clint's father shares. Dr. Naram put his fingers on my wrist and in minutes described my situation more succinctly and accurately than I ever could. Even if I had my 4 doctors in the same room to talk about my case, which never happens, they couldn't have described what I'm experiencing as accurately as Dr. Naram just did. Dr. Clint was astonished to see the positive impact that being so fully understood had on his father. He was in a better mood and even started believing that he could be healed. So I leave you with these questions. How important is it to have hope? How important is feeling understood? What price are you willing to pay for what you want in terms of time, energy, efforts, money, and discipline? Why is it worth it to you to pay that price? And what other insights, questions, or realizations came to you as you read this chapter? So friends, thank you for, again, giving me the opportunity to share the highlights of this chapter. I thank my teachers, I thank my family, and I thank you. Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar.
That was such a beautiful, beautiful description of the chapter. Jerem, are you up here?
I am.
Beautiful.
There's so much emotion that Miriam
Wow.
brought to the presentation. Clearly, she's totally in the experience. And to continue along in that same vein, I welcome again my colleague Esther to take us to the next segment with Rabbi Eva. Esther, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I'd been muted. It's my pleasure to welcome Rabbi Eva, the beloved wife, partner, cohort of Rabbi Steve, who we'll hear from shortly. But Eva is, just for a brief history for those that don't know her, Eva is a rabbi, a cantor, an artist, a Reiki practitioner. She's an author of a book called Spiritual Surgery, The Journey of Healing Mind, Body, and Spirit, which is a wonderful read. She's co-rabbi with Rabbi Steve at their congregation Neve Shalom, of which I've been a member for many years. She's also on the faculty of the AJRCA and has taught meditation and at the University of Judaism. The list goes on and on. She's a talented musician, singer, and just the right person for us this morning to help drop us from our heads into our hearts. So I've asked Rabbi Eva to prepare something for us. And Eva, Linda, if you can highlight Eva, that would be great. There's Rabbis Eva and Steve. Good morning, both of you. I love you so. It's so good to have you here with us. Eva, I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about what you're going to sing for us this morning. And we do have your page that you sent me to put up on the screen, okay?
Good morning, everyone. For us, it's morning. I wanted to share this slide with you because first of all, it gives you an image of what it means to be a sanctuary space. And sanctuary space is about divinity that's within. In our Torah, in the Bible, there is this beautiful description where God says, make for me a sanctuary so that I can dwell among you. So it's really within each one of us that the divine presence is there. And I wanted to share this slide, and it also has the words to the song I'm going to sing. Is it possible to share the image so I can?
Linda, can you share the image that I sent you, please?
Hold on just a sec. Oh, great.
So in the Hindu religion, you have chakras. Some of you are probably very familiar with that. These places on the body, which represent the divine emanation and how God is present in the world. And in Jewish Kabbalah, these are called sphirot. They're spheres. They're spheres of light and presence. And, you know, in order to do the kind of healing that all of you are searching for and talk about, and that my husband was the beneficiary of, there has to be a sense of surrender with the body, to know that you are giving to the energy of the presence of the Holy One. And Shakti actually means the power of the feminine. It's the divine feminine. And in Judaism, we have Shekhinah, which also means to dwell. So I wanted to share this melody that's inspired by our Bible. And the words are there. If you know this, those of you who live in America might be familiar with this melody. I'm going to share it in Hebrew as well. But if not, just close your eyes and be in touch with all the places in your body, the places that feel like they need healing. Open and surrender to letting the light in, and the words, the inspirational words of the kind of healing that Ayush Shakti is available for you. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Fiasuli Migdash Vishachanti Betocham Vanachnu Mevarech Yah Me'ata V'ad Olam. Just be a sanctuary for the presence of divine light, so your healing will be a gift from the divine.
So beautiful, Rabbi Eva. Thank you so much, bringing us into the space of the heart.
That was really, really beautiful. It brought me right there. So thank you so much. And I think at this point, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Steve. Rabbi Steve, for those of you that don't know us, is a rabbi, Kabbalist, practitioner of ancient Jewish spiritual tradition. He's also a clinical psychologist. He's the co-founder of the Academy for Jewish Religion here in California. Rabbi Steve has experienced several near-death experiences and illnesses throughout the years. And Rabbi Steve, which is why we're introducing him, was able to meet Dr. Naram and share healing with him and experience going to Ayushakti twice, a year or two apart, for a period of a couple of months. So Rabbi Steve, why don't you give us a brief little introduction to what brought you to Ayushakti and Dr. Naram to begin with?
In 2005, I experienced my 5th near-death experience and my 3rd lung collapse, which left me also with a shingles infection that destroyed both the skin and muscle nerves from the center of my back down to my lower lumbars and around to the middle of my belly, from my lower ribs to my groin. That left me in level 10 pain, which is the worst they can measure. It's gone on now for over 16 years. And at the same time, regardless of all of the medical treatments, I continued to deteriorate until I was barely able to walk. I had been extremely active physically with high intensity athletics and exercise. In fact, before 2005, I was weightlifting almost 300 pounds, was bicycling 200 miles in a day, high altitude mountain biking, etc. And by the time I went to Mumbai to see Dr. Naram, I had been diagnosed with an autoimmune deteriorating muscular disease like muscular dystrophy. And at the same time, the doctor that I was with and the others could find no real understanding of why I was the way I was. 2 things were happening. There is a blood test called a CPK, which measures the deterioration of muscle. The usual range is from 0 to about 300. Mine was over 1,350, which meant that I was losing muscle and other elements of my organs at an astounding rate. And a friend of mine took me to see Dr. Naram. When I walked into the office, he was astounded, you know, the usual diminutive man who would get up in his white suit and walk over with a smile, looked shocked. And he came and he held my hand. And from that moment, I surrendered. No one had ever truly been able to provide me the sense that I could place myself in someone's hands and knew that I would find healing and a sense of companionship and partnership through the struggles I was facing. And at that moment, he said, I have been meditating for days, and every time I do, I see the face of what I'm told is a great healer who will be coming to me that needs to be healed. And as you walk through the door, I see that it is your face that I've been seeing. So you and I have much work to do. He took my pulses and he said, you must come to Ayush Shakti immediately, otherwise you will die. So that fall, winter, I went to Ayush Shakti, and as I went there, a variety of disastrous things happened. I was taking human growth hormone injections on a daily basis, and the injections I had bought with me, because of an error, the man who was keeping them for me put them in the freezer, so they were destroyed. And Dr. Naram, when I told him, smiled and he said, the ancient books that I went and found in Tibet have a recipe, a remedy for them. I have never used them before, but I will make them for you. And within 3 weeks, when he ran blood tests, my human growth hormone had returned to normal and remained normal for many, many, many years. And at the same time, the measurement of my deterioration had slowed from 1350 down to 500. And by the time I returned home, they were normal. I lost over 20 pounds. And as the book says, when Eva saw me in the airport, she walked by me because she didn't recognize me. I had lost 20 years. Then, and in that process, there are things that my part of the chapter doesn't refer to, is that I spent 2 to 3 hours a day on the Panchakarma table with 2 to 3 people working on me, rubbing into my body various oils, herbs, rubbing me with salt, opening up the largest of the organ in the body, which is the skin, drawing out toxins, at the same time infusing through my skin herbs, healing elements which would begin to draw through the skin and affect the organs within me. Then there were times I spent in the steam and later in the bath. And then I was infused in every orifice of my body, including my ears, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, and every other place with healing, detoxifying elements, and then healing herbs and oils. So that each time I went, there was another level of transformation and healing. This Panchakarma treatment, which is really not available in the United States unless you pay enormous amounts for it, is really very much what was at the core of what made the transformation so possible. I also ate at Ayush Shakti, of course, with the mung soup. There were other dishes that were served to me later that added to it, and all of the remedies I took, many of which are not available in the United States because they can't be approved here, some of the substances. Each time I returned to the United States, I brought a huge suitcase filled with enough herbs to sustain me for years. At the same time, in my visit in 2007, I was asked to share with him the healing that was based on the Kabbalah that Eva so beautifully described. We have, instead of 7 chakras, we have 10 sphirot. 7 of the 10 are similar to the chakras. The 3 others have to do with other levels of being that have to do with the different qualities of light, so that what are visible light, colors, and qualities of holiness at the same time are transcendent. And this tree of life, or this Eitz Chaim, tree of living, is what I shared with him, and all of the herbs, the foods, the blessings, the meditations that go along with them. At that time, he also brought Ayurvedic doctors, gurus, yogis, etc., some of whom I shared with. And when I went home, I was doing fine. Around 2010, I began to deteriorate again. So I went through a profound ceremony that Eva did on our Yom Kippur, in which my name was changed to from Shlomo Melech, Solomon the king, which was what I was given, to Yahya, which means live for God. And I went back to India in 10 and continued the treatment, which was even more intense. The same Panchakarma treatment, more very unusual remedies, which came out of the ancient books. And at that point, Dr. Naram and Dr. Smita invited me to their home. We had a long, slow dinner along with their son, and he took the books out of his special room. And from the moment we opened them and I began to look at them, this great body of light surrounded all of us. And we went into this state of profound meditation and healing together, which included their son, who I had spent some time with before. And those books became infused in me. At the same time, I met with more and more practitioners of a variety of healing. And near the end of my stay there, they said that there was a priest of Ganesh who had been possessed by a demon and who had been possessed for 25 years, and they were never able to bring the demon out. And they asked me if I would go and remove the demon. I was quite surprised. I said, why would you think that I could do that? And I had introduced them to what we call shomrim, guides, watchers, combination of spiritual beings of light, badly translated from the Hebrew malach into angels. A malach is a messenger who brings the quality of the holy presence in different elements to aid me and every one of us in the development of the purpose or tikkun for which each of us live in this world, so that we enter into the world, into these bodies, not in order to find our place in the world and to prove that we have a reason for being here, but because we know that we have our place, that we have a purpose. And instead of trying to prove it, it is our task to do the service that will live it out. Naram learned that from his teacher. And when I shared with him that that's what I was doing, we smiled, we cried together, and I agreed to go see the priest of Ganesh. And they brought him out, and I could see, feel, experience the darkness that was holding the bright light of the holy presence within him. I began to do the prayers, and my shomrim entered, and there was a bowl on the altar, a brass bowl, which, you know, is a music bowl. And they took, I took the bowl off the altar. And as we lifted the presence, the demon, not in anger, not in exorcism, but in love to be healed. I hit the bowl and the bowl rang. And as we ran it around the edge of the bowl and the sound expanded so it filled the whole temple, the demon itself began to turn. The darkness began to shred and turn from this horrible oily black and began to thin out. And my guides, my shomrim, with I lifted him out of the body and he ascended to be received and healed. I still have this bowl in my studio where I do my healing work with people. And from that moment on, Naram and I partnered in healing others who were there at Au Shakti till I returned. And since then, I have gone through many of my own illnesses. Again, you see this big brace I'm wearing. It's because I've gone through 2 major reconstructions of my spine in the last several months. And I just met with Dr. Smita a few days ago, and we have established a new protocol for me to return back to the Au Shakti principles, including the ancient remedy of the HGH. So I want to come back to Mumbai, but as yet it's not possible given everything that I'm going through. And when I went the first time, as you know, I was in a wheelchair, hardly able to walk. And at this point, I probably couldn't survive a airplane flight there, but I will go at some time. That's a quick summary.
Rabbi Robbins, thank you so much for that story, all of those stories. I have chills from the top of my head to my toes. It's so profound what you shared. I truly believe that name that you received, Live for God, truly emulates through who you are. You know, you would not have been able to survive as much had you not had the purpose to be able to live for God. So thank you. We're so grateful for you and for the healing that you do for us. And Rabbi Eva, you know, your voice is so angelic. Love, love, love it when you sing. It's so beautiful.
So, Jana, one
Yes.
of the quotes in the book is, Dr. Naram's model of healing is not based on being ill, but on being well. It's totally different approach in which your body, mind, and spirit are able to participate with you in deeper healing. Rabbi Steve, I was wondering, during your Panchakarma experience, which I've done as well at Au Shakti, there are a lot of spiritual messages that come through. It's not just having your hands on your body, and it's, you know, sort of those out of body experiences that we experience during that healing. And I wonder if you could share any that you might have experienced. I know they were very powerful for me in my healing.
Well, I had several near-death experiences before that. I said I had my 5th. I was born dead and actually had infant CPR done by the doctor who himself had near-death experiences because of wounds he'd received in the war. And he breathed into me in the way that God breathed into Adam at the beginning, so that I didn't have infant amnesia. I remember even becoming a soul. And while I was on the table, my soul, my neshama, the unique quality of being that is each of us, unique to our time, our place, and our purpose, lifted out and participated with those who were working on me and the others who were filling the space. So what seemed to be a little cubicle of me laying on a table with people working on me was a doorway into this huge expanse in which I was no longer contained within the limitation of this failing body, but as in the near-death experience, had expanded into this great consciousness without limitation. And so the healing, again, was not about fixing a broken body, but it was about all that was coming, so that each of the challenges I faced were not about my illness, but were about the miracle that awaited for me as I went through them. Many people have asked me, you do all this healing with others, why don't you heal yourself? And the answer that I was given when I asked that question was, it's one thing to talk about what happened to me, which people can then question whether or not it was some aberration of mind. But my task is to say, this is what is happening to me now. And yet in the process of this, and because also of this incredible Shekhinah, this presence of this woman who's been with me for 48 years, I live for what is the positive, the celebration, the joy, the gratitude of the service that I may bring to others. It's not about my importance. It is about the centrality of each of the people or the many people who I've worked with, either individually or in groups, that have themselves learned the meditations, the prayers, the process of healing, so that instead of coming to me week after week after week to heal, my task is to teach them self-healing, so that in the prayer that says, may it be your will, Lord God, that this which is done for me, the sake of my complete healing, comes from you to me as a freely given gift. Blessed is the one who heals the sick. And it is the image that what we call healing, refuah, the binding together of that which has come apart, that is at the core of all of the issues that we face, so that we become the miracle. The word for miracle in Hebrew, nes, is also the same word for challenge and test, so that no miracle happens without some arduous challenge or test which comes to us. So for any of us who have gone through these, we must know that it is to teach us how the miraculous is in each of us. And as Naram and I shared this, there developed this enormous relationship. So when I came to meet Clint and Dr. Naram to talk about the book, as I entered this little motel room, suddenly the room opened up. He embraced me and called me soul brother. And we are brothers of the soul, so that the day before I was informed that he had left this world, I had a vision of he and I dancing beyond the physical, so that when Clint informed me of his passing, I simply smiled and knew that Naram was and is forever with us, as we are forever with him. The hundreds of thousands of people who he brought healing to around the world without charge, simply giving away the remedies, his time and his spirit, is the model for which all of us who have gone through Ayush Shakti know that that is the same purpose for which each of us live. So it is not about what happened to us. It is about what is happening to all of us at the same time.
Rabbi Eva, let me ask you, I know that there were physical changes that you saw immediately when Steve came home from Ayu Shakti the first time, but was there a difference in Steve's spirit as you saw it? I mean, Rabbi Steve is just a beautiful example of love at every level and full of deep spirit. Did you see any change in that? Did it evolve? Did it manifest somehow differently for you?
That's an interesting question, because his essential spirit and soul has, from the moment that we connected, has been constantly evolving and growing and expanding, as I have, because it's the way we impact each other. It's the influence of supporting the growth and encouragement and the love to let the other know that infinite possibilities are always ahead of us. So it was part of the trajectory of consistent evolution. It felt consistent with who he was, and just even more so maybe than who he really was. But it's what we're both so dedicated to. You know, I've always called the work that I've done expanded spirit, because it all, you know, it's the one thing we know that can keep growing and growing, because even as we age and physically things shift, and sometimes they get smaller, diminutive, the one thing we know is that the soul is just the opposite. It's the one thing that can expand beyond any limit or boundary that's imaginable. So I think it's just part of the journey that he's been on and has been evolving. Even as the pain sometimes gets worse, there is this ability that he has for his spirit to go beyond it and to hold it and move past it. And the kind of pain that I've dealt with has been more emotional and spiritual, because I've been caregiver, I've been partner, I've been observer, I've been part of a journey that I don't know how many people out there have experienced. But some of us, out of good fortune and good caregiving, I'm not sure what it is, have not had the physical challenges that other people have had. And so we have to hold it and caress it at times. Sometimes we're numb to it. So the role of the partner, of the one who is sick and challenged and physically in pain, the impact is really almost as hard sometimes on the caregiver, on the level of spirit and soul. And I think it's very important to talk about. And for anybody who's been in a place where they've had a parent, a child, or a partner, that they've had to live with chronic illness, the effect is almost as difficult and painful at a level that we don't talk about enough.
I would not say almost. I would say that in some ways, what I went through, both here and in the other worlds, I was going through, and she was here, containing and holding it all. So what she went through was just as intense, challenging, and even more terrifying for her than it was for me. So when she says almost, that's not accurate.
It's an understatement.
It's a severe understatement. I went and got the bowl that was on the altar that the priest had given to me. And I would only do one thing. I will not do the whole thing, but this is what happened. And at that moment, it's so shocked the illness, and that the illness, the demon surrendered. And so it is for all of us. There is that ringing sound, that call of confidence, not of belief, not even of hope, which surrenders to the belief, the hope that somehow the Holy One will save us. It is the sound of confidence, of trust. It tells us that it is the ringing sound of freedom from all that holds us in thrall, that we will become free and healed in this world, but more importantly, in the next.
Oh, thank you, Steve. That's so beautiful. The vibration of the sound from the bowl just goes straight to the heart, as music does, as Eva's music does for me each time I hear it. One of the other things I want to talk about is, and it's sort of an introduction and maybe something we can go into deeper at another time, but we talk about the ancient secrets of Siddha Veda. And as Eva mentioned, you know, in Hindi and Buddhism, we have the chakra points, and in Judaism, we have the spherotes, and we have Shakti and Shekinah. And there's this wonderful connection or similarity between ancient secrets of Siddha Veda and the ancient Jewish teachings of Kabbalah. And I don't know if it's easy, I guess it's not easy, but in a little bit of time, just to talk about where the similarities lie and why these teachings resonate so strongly within us.
One of the things that's very important in our essential core, beginning in the biblical, the story of Abraham, is the understanding that there is no people or religion or spiritual path which is more important than any other, and that each of them are here in this world because they are part of an existence which is neither an illusion or is condemned to sin, but rather simply unfinished. We live in an existence that is incomplete. So each of the religions, the groups of people are meant to serve the Holy One in a way which leads towards synergy.
I just want to add something, if I might. You know, the Bible is universal until Abraham comes on the scene. So the first chapters of Torah, of the Bible, is for everyone, right? The garden, Adam and Eve, the children, Noah, the rainbow, it all is universal. And Abraham has many sons. And so there is a path that Abraham takes with Sarah and Isaac, but his other sons are sent to the east. And there is this ancient belief that Abraham really was the father of Kabbalah, that he had secrets and mysteries that he had kept and that he held, and that his sons who went to the east were taking some of those secrets as well. So it's not a surprise that there is a crossover, and that even though our history and our story takes one path, there is the other path in which all of us come, right? From the mother and father, from Adam and Chava.
This leads us to the understanding that when we leave this world to go to the next level of being, that the specificity of what we call religion, religiosity, no longer is relevant. One of our great mystics, an ancestor of mine named Isaac Luria, said that when we go to the next world, all of the 613 mitzvot, the various forms of religious observance and service we do, are finished. They no longer are required in the next world, because we reach a point in which there is a new synergy. The word for synergy being that in this case, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The whole is the same as the image of the Holy One, that God is one, not one God, but God is a oneness, and that each of us become part of that oneness without disappearing, so that our qualities remain infinite and eternal beyond the limitations even of those words. And we find a new path for each of us. So it says in our tradition, the righteous of all nations have a share in the world to come. And in understanding it, and in my experience of all of the NDEs, one of the greatest of all illusions is death, because there truly is no death. There is only the death of the body, and in so the freeing of the soul from the limitations. And as we do so, we no longer need the qualities of different religions to fulfill the path. It is the quality of each religion, each culture, each people to fulfill the path that it has been handed. So that Judaism is much more an Eastern religion than it is a Western religion. And it is why the teachings of Kabbalah, which in many ways relate to the 7 sons that Abraham sends east back to where the Jewish people find their origin in a place called the Indus River Valley, some 8,000 years ago. We all come from a Garden of Eden. We come from a place of richness into a place of barrenness. And we bring the richness that brings life, not just from the earth, but from each other. So it is this moment we face now in the pandemic, in the risk of the death of this planet, in the return to autocratic rule that is supposed to alleviate the fear of each of us, so we surrender our individual responsibility, the economic collapse that teaches us at this moment we must rise above the individual fear of living and enter into the joy of living, so that we work now to end the fear of death, which will end the fear that leads us to all of the evil that's done in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. What I'd like to do is, if anybody has any questions for Rabbi Steve or Rabbi Eva, if you could put them in the chat, I'll have Jana sort of monitor that. And what I want to do is just take a quote of Rabbi Robbins from the book that I think sums up what he just discussed. He said, "The wisdom of Siddha Veda is profound, understanding the complete makeup of the human being, not from what we could describe in scientific Western terms, but which is understood according to ancient science." And I think that ancient science is a universal science in so many ways, as we've just talked about. So I think for me, it's, with my Jewish heritage and traditions, the two meld together, the teachings meld together so that it incorporates in me a deeper understanding on so many levels. So Jana, are there any questions that have come up in the chat?
Yes, I would like Dorina. Dorina, you had a question that you put in the chat that you wanted to ask Rabbi Robbins.
Yes, thank you. When you first spoke, Rabbi, you ended with, it is not about what happened to us, but what happened to all of us at the same time. And I think it relates to what you just talked about, but I was wondering if you could say more and kind of elaborate on that a little bit so I can really get what you're saying.
What's happening now in this moment, in this Zoom, it is a platform in which all of us are experiencing together what is not simply happening now, but is the platform, the doorway that leads us into what is happening above. So in Kabbalah, there is the principle, so below, so above. What is happening here in this world is needed because similar events or qualities are happening farther above. What's happening in this moment is that all of us sharing in this Zoom moment are all bound together to each other. It is not what Eva is saying and singing. It is not what I am saying and sharing. It is the presence that all of us have the quality of being in each other's lives, in each other's rooms, in each other's face. That leaves us with a sense that there is an aloneness which has now discorporated. It becomes thinner. We know that at this moment, we are all bound in the same purpose by this moment. That is the meaning of the word shalom, not peace, but wholeness, the bringing together of this synergy. So while we are all in this moment now, taking for each of us the uniqueness of the experience that comes, we are all also in each other's presence in our lives. Energy is the result of presence. Energy is not a cause, it is an effect. And when we focus only on the energy, we miss the whole point of sharing the presence, being in each other's face, being in each other's moments in which your experience and mine are no longer strange. They become part of the fulfillment of each other. And we participate in the making of a greater refuah, a greater binding and healing together of that which seeks to disrupt the wholeness. And that is the moment that I was describing. Does that help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
I want to invite those who wish to ask me more questions to email me through the contact with Shakti, because I will individually respond as I can.
Juliet, I believe, had some questions. Julia, will you unmute?
Yes. Hello, Rabbi Steve. It
Hello,
is such
Julia.
a pleasure. It is such a pleasure to listen to you both and to feel of your essence and your wisdom and just these amazing, amazing, miraculous stories in your life. I've heard you before, and my husband is a doctor and has also experienced many, many physical challenges and pain in his life. And so we were intrigued as we were walking just a little while ago, listening to you. I'm wondering if you have if you have written many of your experiences with near-death experiences and those experiences you've had with others and with healing and the work that you've done. And I would love to hear a whole day worth of a workshop, just listening to you speak and your experience and your wisdom. I just would really love to hear more. Do you have written things or audios, or what do you have that we could partake of more?
there is a organization called International Association for Near-Death Studies, acronym IANDS, IANDS. I have had 9-hour to hour-and-a-half interviews with their research project led by Robert and Suzanne Mays, in which I have talked extensively about each of my NDEs, the meaning and what I've learned. There is also, and I have, those are available through the website at IANS and through another means called consciousminds.org, I believe, or .com, and that is the link into the Maze project. You can, if you want, sit through each of those. They have been transcribed, and I am now putting them into the core of a book, which will expand much more into more detail on the process of the healing, the meditations, the chanting, the work on the body, what Naram calls marma points. There are sphera points in which there can be profound physical work done to open the quality of each of these points and their connections. So that exists. There is also a YouTube led by a woman called Suma Gowda, who is part of the International Academy of Consciousness, which was founded in Portugal over 30 years ago, of which I've now become a part. And if you go to YouTube and put in 8 near-death experiences, 13 surgeries, and consciousness, Rabbi Stephen Robbins, you will see a hour-and-a-half interview that I do with her, which will just be the beginning. I've also done a number of individual interviews. I just did one with the IANDS chapter in Portland on how to expand understanding the layered quality of near-death experiences or any of our transformation through illness, which we may take literally as they are, but they're to be seen at many levels of understanding. And I know that Clint wants me to do a more detailed set of workshops that even I would do on meditative techniques, healing techniques, etc., which we have yet to set up. So there's already much that's there and is slowly being put into a book because there is so much individual kinds of things to break down and teach. One of the things that's happening now is that many of the people who I've worked with individually are writing their own narratives about our sharing with each other. And out of each of those that have go back to the mid-90s, I am then extrapolating the principles learned and then applied to other people, so that instead of it being a dry intellectual or academic or narrative description, it now becomes alive with the interchange I've had with hundreds of people and the way, not what I've given to others, because that's not the way real healing works. It is a sharing. So whatever I share with someone, they share the same with me. So it is a mutual healing that I have gone through with so many people, both individually and in groups. And that's what I'm writing about. I
Well,
hope that gives you some
so much. And could you actually just say your email address? People are asking in the chat what the email address is that we could contact you.
You can contact me.
I'm putting it down here.
Eva's typing it in so you can see it there.
Also, Rabbi Steve and Eva, I would like to offer my services as a coordinator for the additional workshops, and I'll speak with Clint and see what we can set up. separate and apart from our Sunday calls, so that those that want to learn more or go deeper into some of these thoughts and teachings can do that.
Thank you so much, Esther. It's much appreciated. We are all very busy, Eva and I, doing what we have to do. So having coordination would be a profound gift.
Well, it's my pleasure. So
I'm just wondering if there, in the conversation, that any possibility of a full-length movie. I mean, your life stories are so amazing.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. There are a number of filmmakers who've approached me. I have only, there's so many things that I have done, including being adopted as a Navajo shaman and others that I can't refer to here, that have truly informed the development of my life. And then most of all, my moment of looking into the eyes of this profound woman 49 years ago, which transformed both of us and have made this incredible marriage, partnership, mutuality that has made it possible for me to be who I have become, and for her to rise into levels of her own sharing, brilliance, creativity.
I've been working on a memoir because I wanted to write about what it meant to be a caregiver and the things that I had learned as a result of it, living with somebody who was as challenged as Steve was. And that actually led me to another place of darkness, which I had sort of neglected to own, and that's being a child of Holocaust survivors. And so I realized what I needed to do was really go back to the beginning, because my birth really came out of darkness. Just as Torah and the world begins with chaos, what they call tohu vavohu, there's this ever-present darkness and depth, and then God says, let there be light. And out of the dark comes this partnership, because they both exist in the world. And so I've been writing my story about what it means to have grown up with parents who saw the worst darkness imaginable, and then they gave birth and had, you know, light in their lives, and what that meant for me, emerging at a time when women's voices were silenced, both in my tradition as a Jew and in the culture. And so that's evolving for me as well. And if it hadn't been for my husband, I probably would never have sung. I wouldn't be able to express my voice because of all the influences on the world that wanted to shut it down. It's what women experienced for decades, for centuries. And we're in a different place, obviously. So we're both on a path of trying to share where we've come from and how it's all made possible growth and potentiality and newness and becoming in ways we've never anticipated. You know, out of Steve's illness, the last thing he would have expected or anybody would have expected was this plethora of sharing about near death and how to evolve from the depth of pain and the depth of darkness, and how, for me, coming from a place of being told not to speak and not to be heard from, and to be able to write now in an award-winning Jewish paper, to know that I can express who I am and that people want to hear it is really astounding. I mean, those are the miracles that none of us ever really understand and appreciate, how we emerge and flower, you know, and continually do it. I call myself a late bloomer because most of my blossoming has come late in life, later in life than I would have ever expected, but there's no end to it. So there's a great deal that both of us feel that we want to express and share, and hopefully, God willing, it will slowly come up.
Well, we're all so grateful to experience the miracle of both of you. Eva, do you have a song that you'd like to share with us to sort of wrap up what we've talked about, or segment into the ending of this call? I invite you to do something if you'd like.
Well, you know what? I'd like to do a Mishaberach, which is a blessing for healing. And I think we all need it. It is something that we can all do for ourselves. If you're with somebody, you can put your hands on their head, on their heart, or you put it somewhere for you that will make you feel as if you are taking care of yourself, because that's healing is something we do for ourselves. It's not just what we receive from other people. So that you can hold your face, you can hold your heart. And I'll share this Mishaberach, which is saying, you know, the God who is there, who's been there for our ancestors, be there for us in this moment of need. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim El Narifana El Narifana El Narifana El Narifana Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And my gratitude to you, Esther, and to all of you for opening the door for this moment of synergy for all of us.
Thank you.
Share the
Thank you,
email. We
thank
don't
you.
see an email. We still don't see an email for Esther or for Eva. And
Oh, I put them all in. I'll do it again.
make sure says it's sent to everyone and not an individual.
Oh, that's the problem. It went to Marcia. Thank you for pointing that out. That's the Zoom thing, right? Whoops.
Marcia,
Help each other.
did you have a question for Rabbi Robbins, Marcia? Love it.
I did. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. You have rekindled my my Judaism for sure. So my question was about the food. You know, how have you been managing cooking and feeding each other? And I mean, I know we can live on love, but I'm not sure how we still have to eat. And I was just curious about that.
Well, one of the things I did for many years was make mung bean soup for Steve. He was very committed to that. And he became a vegetarian. So I had to change my style of cooking. And so it's very veggie oriented with all kinds of replacement like almonds and cashew and all the different kinds of options that are now available that weren't. And we're going back to mung bean soup to see if that will help some of the newer issues, because the health seems to go in cycles, and there are, you know, physical things that seem to get better and then they need attention. So it's hills and valleys, it's hills and valleys. But, you know, a lot of salads and a lot of grains. And
Okay.
I am a chicken person. So we do have poultry.
And fish.
And a lot of fish, a lot of fish.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I too have back issues, you know, I have a lumbar spinal fusion, scoliosis, and I had my dead experience also. Only one, thank goodness. But it's not over yet, you know. But I have a great attitude. So it's all about, to me, it's all about attitude. And yes, cleansing the system. And I love that you've brought me back to my soul. You've brought me back to the core where I came from.
One of the things that is so challenging is that when I entered involvement with IANS and the consciousness group, I discovered that I'm the only rabbi who's ever done this. So that the whole Jewish experience around illness, near death, and return has been silent. So I'm now unpacking it all, because at the real core of Judaism is not all the ceremonial issues. We're not doing them for the sake of the ceremony. The ceremony are doorways so that what the deep psycho-spiritual, ethical content in them is not what is released when we do them. It is how each of us are transformed through them. And it is that which I and this new trans-denominational rabbinical cantorial chaplaincy seminary is now 20 years old. That's what we teach, what we're about.
I really, to be fair, there is a lot of Jewish literature. There's an award-winning book about aging, and all of us are on that. We're on that path, you know, and it's an amazing book. Rabbi Laura Geller and her husband, who sadly passed while they were writing the book. And there are many people who do write about what Judaism informs us about health and well-being. I actually have something I've been working on called SOAR, and each of the letters represents something important, which I'll share at another time. What Steve has really done is talk about near-death experiences that nobody has really been willing to share or acknowledge that they've gone through. So in all fairness, there is material out there. I'm happy to let Esther give me the pathway to share some titles so that you have access to it. And then, of course, go to hear my husband's interviews, because he's really fabulous when it comes to talking. So
I hadn't noticed.
Yes.
He's great.
Yeah, he's great to listen to. So I would go to IANS and to the consciousness, Suma's interviews. And I have a website that has some of my writings, because I work with women. I like to work and teach and facilitate with women spiritual growth and awareness. And my tradition is important to me. And it informs us all about how to get what Steve has talked about as wholeness. And the word is shalem. Shalem means whole. Shalom actually means peace, and both are important. But it's the work that I have found that's been very meaningful to me, because I was so deprived as a female much of my life, and my voice was not wanted and it was shut down. And so the ability now to facilitate and to write and to share with other women is really meaningful and important to the work that I do.
Soon I will be starting through IONS a monthly Zoom meeting for Jews who've had NDEs, illnesses, etc., who've never had a chance to talk about them and to get response from a rabbi who's gone through the same thing. So if you stay in touch with the IONS website, etc., and ISGO, ISGO, which is the discussion point for many who've had NDEs around the world and have never spoken of them because they're afraid that people think they're crazy. So stay in touch with those, and all are welcome to participate because what I've shared briefly here is filled with so much depth, richness, healing, joy, ecstasy, as is Eva's work. And the two come together to blend into this oneness.
thank you so much for that. I think you both represent, the yin and the yang. I mean, you both represent a joyful couple, and great example for the world.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much. I have to say that this year in particular has been really, really challenging. Between the COVID realities and Steve actually being in and out of the hospital about 4 or 5 times. There are times when the energy drain is just beyond expression. And I have found that when I get to work, which means to write or to teach, which I'm doing a class now in the rabbinic school, that nourishes me, that feeds me and helps move me forward.
There is
so.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's so great. I'm glad for you. I am finding that Dr. Clint G. Rogers and this community is the most loving, giving, caring community that has happened to me in a very long time.
Yes.
And, that's where my head's at right now. I have the joy in my heart is for the world. I haven't figured out how to express that yet, but I'm in many organizations, so I practice all over the place.
Yeah, this is a gift. This is a gift.
Yes, it is a gift.
People to just have a place to be seen, to be heard, to take in. It's a real give and take. So it truly is a gift. And you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, I know. I get that. I really do.
Your whole presence just glows with the sense of purpose, sense of fulfillment, and the joy of the surprise that happens all the time that opens new doors. I always have taught that the beginning of the miracle is when we're surprised that something happens and we turn into the surprise instead of staying on the same repetitive path. So you are constantly turning into the surprise, and in the surprise, like Moses turning to the burning bush, the presence of the Holy One opens, and there you are in a whole new development.
Rabbi Steve.
Thank you. I just have to just say thank you. That's all. I'm so moved, and I'm touched and inspired by what you just said. And thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm. We appreciate you, Marcia. We truly do.
Thank you, Jane.
We had a very important question. I don't know whether Michael Evans would like to unmute. Michael, would you like to unmute and ask your question, or would you like me to ask it?
Would you ask it?
He said that he deals with a lot of pain, and he was wondering how you manage the pain. Do you do it through meditation, through prayers, through marmas? What is your method?
There are so many ways to respond to pain. One of the things that's most important is that you don't struggle with pain. You don't fight it. You embrace it. One of the most important things I taught back in '93 was that pain is a great teacher. It's teaching us about some place that we are discorporating, we are coming apart. And the pain is making us pay attention to that part of us that needs transformation and development. It's like if you're walking along the beach and you happen to step on a piece of buried glass, your foot is cut and it hurts, so you have to stop and tend it. If you couldn't feel the pain in your foot, then you would go along bleeding, picking up infection. So that I was on very intense opioids for a period of time, which I got myself off of through a combination of meditation, which involves a Kabbalistic form of breathing, understanding the nature and the dimensions of the soul, finding our tikkun, our purpose for being here, and how the pain opens the door toward finding that purpose, and then in the healing, reaching out so that we can share that knowledge, not knowledge because that's left brain, the knowing that has been implicit in us from our initial formation, and sharing that out to individuals, to family, to community, to the world. And what happens is that right now, my level of pain is approximately an 8 to a 9. You wouldn't know it considering the way I'm functioning, because what's going on in my body is not about what's going on either in my consciousness or my soul, which is not contained in my brain. It uses my brain, which has much of its own damage. And learning to transform my brain, my body, my autonomic system, and my autoimmune system, which is what I wrote my dissertation on in the psychoneuroimmunology of trauma, to then be able to let the pain in my body be there rather than to have it consume all of me. This pain that I live with from the shingles is never going to go away. The pain in my back has been very much ameliorated due to the surgery, the prayers, the meditations, the physical therapy I've gone through since. There may be more in the offing, but the point is that there are clearly intellectual, emotional, and spiritual methodologies which synergize. And that's what Eva and I teach when we have the opportunity. So your pain is your guide. And instead of finding the way out of it, it is embracing it and going through it. When we fight an illness, no one ever wins a war. But when we embrace an illness and fill it with love and perception and understanding and compassion that we have for ourselves and for the pain, then the pain begins to ameliorate. While the pain may be in the body because of its damage, the pain no longer occupies the core of consciousness, of brain, of intellect, of function, and of spirit.
Yeah, I think it's important to think of medicine, both East and Western, as complementary. It's really the best description because it doesn't mean that you can't take medications that can help kind of calm something enough so that you can actually focus and then do the kind of spiritual work that's required. So it's important to acknowledge that both at times can be really necessary and important.
If I could be permitted to follow up with that profound statement of Eva's, I said in that chapter that there is no bad medicine. There is only medicine at the wrong time and the wrong place. All medicine is good and complementary when it is put together at the right time and place. So I've been on as many as 24 different medications at a time, while at the same time doing the deep spiritual healing work that I do with myself. And one balances the other so that I am not dominated by the medicine I take, and the medicine no longer dominates the complementary work that I do. And so instead of alternative medicine, it is now seen as complementary. And two of my primary doctors, because of what happened to me in India, have themselves transformed their practices so that they are now complementary.
Rabbi Eva, I have a question.
Stop.
Would you mirror the same question regarding physical pain? Would you mirror the answer for the emotional and spiritual pain that you were experiencing? You know, where he talked about embracing it rather than resisting it.
Oh, yes. And I've had to do that. I've had to acknowledge and hold really deep grief. It's, I think with about 3 to 4 years into the beginnings of what was the new normal, I began to realize that the losses, the changes were really profound and that I was grieving. And we don't just grieve when somebody dies. We grieve when there's this incredible change or transformation, and it's hard to hold. And I had to acknowledge that that's where I was. And that I wrote actually my 10 commandments for caregivers at that moment, because I realized I had to find ways to cope and to grow beyond what I was going through, because what we faced was a new path and it changed many things in our lives. So yes, I had to embrace the concept of grief and know that it ran hills and valleys, and that I had to find ways to embrace myself and my soul so that it wouldn't die, it wouldn't get buried in the pain and the losses and the abandonment that I felt at times from my partner, who no longer was there in the same way. And it is a teacher. It taught me a lot about my own resilience and ability to take steps into a new area of my life in order to save myself. Because when you live with someone who's chronically ill, you can lose your spirit. You can get totally overwhelmed by the moment to moment, the sounds, the demands, all the new platforms and doctors and treatments and medications and schedules, it all changes. And you have to be able to adapt. You only have two choices, right? You can come apart or you can grow and become bigger and better and more expansive. And that's what I chose. I became a rabbi because my partner was not always available. He was not dependable. And I decided to become a rabbi so I could continue the work, the music and the words in my way. It's never the same as what, you know, my husband does, or the way we do it when we're a team. But that was a big decision. And I found that going into Torah and studying was a healing for me, because God, that's how God speaks to us. God speaks through the Bible. God speaks through those gifts, and the learning and the expansion that comes from all of that work was truly healing for me. So we all have different ways of healing, along with, you know, the meditations and focused breathing and nature and water. Little things took on expansive impact.
Thank you so much. I have been watching the faces of this community as you've been speaking, and they have been glued to their cameras. They're not doing other things. They're not, I mean, every word that you are speaking has been penetrating. It appears to me that it's penetrating their souls. So we're feasting on what you are saying, and so grateful for you sharing all of your wisdom with us and your experiences. It's just been beautiful. So Esther, would you like to continue?
Sure. I think at this point, anybody that wants to hear more from Rabbis Steve and Eva can contact me, and I'll coordinate with Dr. Clint on how we can put together something going forward where we can learn more from their wisdom. Because frankly, I think we could sit here and listen to them all day, but I don't think anybody has all day to do that right now. So I would like to say thank you so much, Rabbi Steve and Eva. It's been enlightening, heartwarming, and so meaningful to hear you both speak this morning. And my love for both of you continues as always. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Esther, for being part of our community and sharing and growing with all of us and inviting us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esther, for your presence and your wisdom and your incredible capacity for empathy. And thank you to Ayushakti and to Clint for putting together this worldwide community of souls who all seek the experience of the great miracles that await and that are constantly unfolding, the love and the joy that has become present among all of us in these short moments, which are now eternal. No moment ends, it only begins. And we have now added to the transformation of many souls, because those who are not present here will be affected by your transformations, each of you, when you bring them to those around you, since you have shared this moment. Or as we do in this moment, Eva and I are not the same either. We are transformed by what has occurred in this profound moment, as it is with all of you. And so equally, we bring this moment of healing, of love, of enlightenment, and we will not just simply share it in words, but enact it in the way we live, in the way we are being with others.
Everything
I just wanted to add, we are so blessed by both of you and all the gifts you have provided us. will you receive our gifts of love by everybody rubbing your hands together and sending them love as well? And maybe if we can put the gallery view, they can see everybody's love coming their way. Yes, there you go. Oh, we love you so much. Thank you so much, Rabbi Stephen and Rabbi Eva. What a gift.
We
you
leave
are.
with very full plates from all you've given us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
From
you.
our hearts.
Thank you. Bless everyone. Everyone, be blessed.
Know that blessing begins, but it never ends. It is a flowing well of nourishment and sustenance and revival.
And it's like water. It just flows upon us.
And now we'd like to invite you to join everyone with our traditional departing phrase for each other, which is, I love you and I'm with you. So let's unmute everyone and give this gift to each of us. Each of us.
I love you and I'm with you.
And I'm with you.
Love you and I'm with you.
Oh,
Bye.
love
You, Jane. I love you, Esther. Love you, Jerem. I love you.
See, I
love you,
and I'm
Linda.
with you.
And I'm with you. And I'm
Love you and I'm
Love
with
you,
you.
Janet. Love you, Sonia.
Love you, Andrea.
I love you and I'm with
I
you.
love you,
I love you, Arshia.
Sonia.
Love you, Aparna.
Love you,
Love
Sandra.
you,
I
Love you,
love you,
Lisa.
Cindy, and I'm with you.
Love you,
I love you,
Margot.
Joey.
Louise, love you,
Love
Cindy,
you
love you,
all.
love you, Sarah, love you, Pat, love you, Joseph,
Love
Susan,
you,
love
love
you,
you.
Dale, love you, Dorina.
Thank you.